And there's the music, and here we go. Welcome to a playoff winning edition of the Birds Brains with Ken and Mark. I'm ex-Philadelphia Eagles, Philadelphia Stars tight end Ken Dunek. My partner covered the Eagles for years for the Trenton Times and NJ.com, Mark Eckel. And we're going to talk about an Eagles 22-10 first-round playoff victory against the Packers. Mark knows a lot about the Packers because he covers them for another website. And, of course, we do our due diligence every week talking about the Eagles here. So I think you had some pretty concise commentary last week. And I'm pretty sure I'd have to roll back the tape, but I'm pretty sure we were both on the winning side. I actually thought the game was actually smarter than usual because I diagnosed the game as a lot of running for a couple reasons. The only weakness on the Eagles is they're 10th against the run. So I figured that Green Bay and Jacobs, who's a hell of a running back, might try to exploit that, and they did. And of course, Barkley is the best thing the Eagles offer, and Hurts coming off the injury. I thought they might take it slow with him, and we were right on all counts. Good to be right for a change, isn't it, Mark? I mean, we don't talk about it when we're wrong. We just kind of gloss right over it and move on to the next game.
We can pat ourselves on the back a little bit.
Let me thank a few people here before we get started. We're recording at Sweet Recording Studios. If you have an idea for a podcast, please contact Joe Gangemi at sweetrecording.com, and he will take care of you. Our podcast is sponsored by Gateway Mortgage. If you have a mortgage need, please contact Chris Wilhelm at 856-810-1222. That's Chris Wilhelm at Gateway Mortgage, 856-810-1222. And we had our big monthly party last night for Jersey Man Magazine at Maggiano's at the Cherry Hill Mall. We had a couple hundred people show up, and the new issue is out. The printed copy is out. We distributed them last night. They're going in the mail today, and of course, Mark writes a really good story in that about the top 25 Philadelphia sports moments. I won't step on the lead, but he got at least one of them really right, and we all know what that is about the Philadelphia Stars. And by the way, the Stars are being honored at a dinner on Thursday night at the Doubletree in Cherry Hill, part of the Philadelphia Sports Writers, honoring Charlie Manuel, Michael Barkan. A lot of great guests and people will be there. A lot of the Stars are coming back. If you were a fan of the Philadelphia Stars in the 80s and you want to meet some of the guys, Chuck Fusina, I know will be there, Scott Fitzke, Scotty Warner, Alan Harvin, William Fuller, who went on to an NFL All-Pro career with the Eagles, will be there, and we're going to get together and reminisce and talk about the good times when we were actually young and thin.
Is Jim Mora going to be there?
Jim Mora will not be there. Jim is 89 years old, and he initially agreed to come, and I guess the cross-country travel was a little too much to him. I was told by someone in his family that he was only able to attend one of his son's games in Connecticut, and he loves his son and his
son's doing a nice job at
football. UConn. He really is. He's doing a nice job at UConn. He's turned him. I think he took a team that won either 0 or 1 games, and in 2 years he turned them into a bowl team, which is pretty good.
That's hard to do at a school where you're not the top sport.
It is. It is. Well, the
top basketball sport.
Which is the top sport? Is it men's basketball or women's basketball?
Football's third. I'll tell you that.
Definitely, for sure.
It's not challenging either one of them. So.
All right, so let's talk about the game last week, and we're going to project our thoughts on the Eagles playing the Rams this Sunday at 3:00. The game's been announced. We kind of thought Jalen would get off to a slow start just because of some rust. I think we were right in that assessment. The first half, he was only 6 for 13 for 39 yards. Now, the Eagles make a statement to start that game. Oren Burks lays a whack on the Packers kick returner. He fumbles the ball. Jeremiah Trotter recovers it, and the Eagles score early. Well, it looked like he was laying in the belly of the green. Did you understand why would you look at that and see what we both saw?
Everybody saw.
And rule it Eagles ball. I mean, the only camera angle I saw, the ball was resting on the Green Bay stomach, and the next thing you know, they're giving the ball to the Eagles. So is that a hometown advantage? I don't know.
A little bit. I think,
but anyway,
I think Jeremiah Trotter Sr. was involved with the referees.
The officials ruled, and that's all that matters, that it was Eagles ball, and we go in and score right away. You would have made some money on having Jahan Dotson get the first touchdown in that game. Well, I don't know what that prop was, Mark, but
That was pretty good.
that must have been pretty high up there.
Yeah, I don't think I would have gone with. I think there's a lot of guys I would have picked before Dodson in that one.
But Hurts finishes the game 13 for 21, 131 yards. He didn't have to throw it a whole lot. He did have 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. The Eagles won the turnover battle 4-0, which is always one of the most important stats. What did you think of Hurts?
What I expected. I mean, I know everybody, everybody inside the Eagles, including Hurts. Oh no, he's not rusty. He looked great in practice, and you know better than I because you played the game. Game and practice are not the same thing.
Two totally different animals.
Oh yeah, he could look as great as he wants in practice, but he was going to be a little off, a little rusty. When you miss, basically he played a little bit against Washington, and then he missed 2 weeks after that. So when you miss basically 3 weeks, I don't care who you are or what you're doing, you're going to be a little, like you said, slow start. I think he started off thinking he was 5 for 5, but they weren't anything special.
Right.
I'm not. Hurts played fine.
Yeah.
I like Jalen. I defend him more than most, I think, but he didn't turn the ball over. That was key. No fumbles, no interceptions. Got the balls when he on a couple third down plays found Devontae Smith open, found Goddard. No, Hurts was fine. I hate to use the term game manager, but he managed the game very well.
The way I would characterize his play, Mark, is he was good when he needed to be. He hit that first touchdown to Dodge. By the way, he had all day. That's his long. I think he had 7 seconds to throw the ball, which is an eternity back there. And then, of course, it's kind of a modified scramble drill in the end zone, and somebody's going to get open if the quarterback can hold the ball that long. And Dotson did. And he found him in the back of the end zone. But I expect him to improve this week. I think they'll let him do a little bit more. Now, I was a little concerned that there are a couple times he slid feet first, but a couple times he tried to take on the tacklers too. He stumbled once and fell forward. Then once or twice he actually lowered his shoulder and tried to get an extra. I admire that, but in his case, I'd rather see him err on the side of caution.
Yeah, coming off a concussion. Yeah, I was surprised at that. I said, I looked and I turned to the person I was watching. I said, "What's he doing? Doesn't he know? Did he forget he had a concussion? Did he?
Well, he's a competitor, I guess.
No, he's a tough kid too. He's not. He doesn't shy. He doesn't. But sometimes you got to be smart. Not tough is great, but smart is sometimes better.
And, Saquon, another outstanding game, 25 carries, 119 yards rushing. He would have had more. And if you had a prop bet for Saquon to score a touchdown, you might have been a little upset at the end of the game because he had clear sailing. But how many guys would do that in today's football, Mark? How many guys? Saquon's got the speed. He's wide open. He's gonna score. He's got, I think, 40 yards to go. And he kneels down because he knows it's the end of the game. And that, to me, that speaks volumes about the guy. I'm more, not only his talent, but I'm more and more impressed with his humility, his demeanor after the games. It's always team first and not him. I think it's a refreshing thing in this day and age.
No, he's great. I didn't know that much about him. I know on the Giants he was a great player. But the teams weren't very good, and so he didn't get a lot of. And I'll be honest, I didn't watch the Giants too much, and they made the playoffs the one year, but I didn't know much about him. I knew other than his playing ability, but yeah, you come to find out this guy's pretty good teammate.
They love him too.
He could have gone off about not playing against the Giants that last game. I mean, a lot of players would have made us think about that. The coach won't let me play, whatever. He was fine with that. Now I don't know how he really felt, but he didn't say anything publicly.
I think if you read,
I think he does. I don't think he did. I think he understood it was the smarter thing to do to stay healthy. I can't say enough about. I mean, he's the difference in the team this year.
Reading between the lines with his press conference, I think he wanted to get the record, but he understood the reason why he wasn't going to get the opportunity. Let's talk about a couple receivers. One of them, I think, that the Goddard touchdown is going to go down in Philly's lore we were talking before the podcast, a little bit like Aaron Rowan smashing his face into the fence. You know, he bowls the same guy took 3 shots, right, and he still couldn't get him down. He kind of gives him a chest bump first to knock him off him. Then he gives him 2 stiff arms. The first stiff arm was actually right to the guy's face, and you and I had talked about, you know, isn't that hands to the face? I'm not 100% sure of the rule. I think that if you have the ball, you're allowed to go to the head and neck area as long as you don't grab the face mask. I'm going to double check on that today. But, you know, say what you want to about Philly fans. That kind of effort will win you over, the fans over every single time. And I've always said it's about Philly fans. They're tough and they're demanding. All they want, though, is for their athletes to care as much as they do. And if you show that kind of effort on the field, they're in your corner and they're the best fans in the world. It's the Ricky Waters for who for what stuff that doesn't play here. And I think Goddard is a good example of that.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's funny that his name that a guy like that is, and his first name is Dallas. But
we have to overlook that.
People wanted him to change his name, you know. No, seriously.
To what? To what? Swoop?
Anything. Bill.
Tampa?
Go by his middle name. I don't know. But
any other city but Dallas?
It's hard to be named Dallas and play in Philadelphia.
Okay. Well, if you are Dallas, you better make plays like that, and we'll
but that'll win him. Exactly. That kind of thing. He's been another guy that's been, since he got here, he's been a Philly kind of guy. He's tough.
Yeah, he's gritty. He's a blocker. He's a physical player. He catches the ball and tries to punish runners. I think he's a really good tight end. I hope the Eagles re-sign him. There's been chatter that, you know, his contract is up and that they may not. But we'll see where that ends up. We got bigger fish to fry right now. Devontae Smith, only 4 catches for 55 yards. A.J. Brown was mysteriously absent from the game plan, and he had 1 catch for 10 yards, which is a little confusing to me. We didn't throw it a whole lot. We only threw it 21 times, but he only had 3 targets. And on national TV, they show him reading a book on the sideline, which would have been, you know, immediate waiver wire for people of my era if you're reading a book on the sideline. But what do you think of all the A.J. Brown stuff?
Well, the book thing is kind of funny, but
have you ever, in all your years of covering football, have you ever seen a player reading a book on the bench?
No, not even.
That wasn't.
I never saw a player reading a book. Period.
Not even on the airplane at home.
Not even in the library.
Oh yeah, I take a little bit of offense to that. But
no, I'm kidding. But no, I mean, that didn't bother. Let me say this in A.J. Brown's defense. The Packers defense, which, like you said, I followed them a little bit, more than a little bit, but they have a way of they will take something away from you. Now, with the Eagles, it's hard to take away. They have so much. The Packers secondary was focused on A.J. Brown. So that's why Goddard had a better. Remember I told you last week, look out if you play that fantasy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Goddard's going to do something, because I know the way the Packers think. They were going to take away either Brown or Smith, and they chose Brown. And then, but that's like, again, when you have as many weapons as the Eagles have, it's hard to, you know. And they Barkley hurt him. He didn't kill him, but he could have if he got the other 40 yards. But so yeah, I don't think it was. I think to give the Packers sometimes. I know fans are fans, and they only look at one side. The other team's getting paid too,
right?
So sometimes you got to say, hey, the Packers defense did a good job against A.J. Brown, and I think that was the case this week. I don't think A.J. Brown had a bad. I think the Packers decided we're not going to let A.J. Brown beat us, so they let Goddard and Barkley beat. I mean,
I used to use that line with coaches on the rare occasion that I would get beat out there, Mark. I'd say, well, that guy's getting paid too. It doesn't go over well with coaches. It's good on a podcast, but it's
my point is sometimes you got to give credit to the other team too.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do, but my coach didn't want to hear. Defensively, Reed Blankenship, I don't know if you noticed, but he was coming up and making some really good tackles. He had 11 on the day. He's becoming a real force. I do think he's still a little bit of a liability in coverage, but the rookies Mitchell and DeGene are taking care of that. Let's talk about Nolan Smith, who I thought had a breakout game, and the play that comes to mind. And as you saw, the Packers were riddled with injuries throughout this entire game, losing key people. But
when he came in hurt, they got hurt.
Early on in the game. Now, Nolan Smith is 6'2", 235. He doesn't even look that big to me. But he takes on a pulling guard in Elton Jenkins, who's 6'5" and 311. He hits him so hard on his shoulder that Jenkins got a burner. And I don't know if anybody's ever had a burner. If you play football, it's likely that you did. But I've had them, and they're chronic, and they're extremely painful. Your whole body goes numb. You can't feel your extremities. It eventually comes back. There's a burning issue in the neck. It's a really scary situation. And Nolan Smith hit him so hard, this big guy, that he could not return to the game. And he had 2 sacks on the game too, Nolan Smith. So, and I believe the Eagles gave him the game ball after the game. So that was quite a performance by a guy that, actually, he's one of the guys that is, you preach improving week to week. He looks like he's getting better every single week.
Well, I think he's a guy that benefited from the 4-3.
Yeah, for sure.
Some guys, some guys are better fits in certain schemes, and I think you see that he's a better fit in a 4-3. And some guys it works the other way too. I mean, you could get schemed out of a certain,
right.
But no, he was a first round pick for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
In his first, is this his third year or second year?
I believe it's his third.
So it took him.
I'd have to check.
They take all those Georgia guys. I get mixed up which one they took. But no, he's finally coming into his own. I mean, he didn't as a rookie. He didn't do much at all. If you remember,
he was a 30th pick in the draft in the first round of the draft in 2023.
Okay.
So it's his second year.
Okay,
yeah.
So it's only 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's nothing. Some guys take a year, especially at that position, pass rusher.
Yeah.
I go way back. The greatest player I've ever covered is Reggie White.
Mm-hmm.
I've covered some great ones, but he's great. His first year was good. It wasn't. I mean, you saw
his first year for the Eagles.
Yes, he was good.
Because he played 2 years with the Memphis Showboats, yeah.
Right.
But I still have the scars to prove it. Yeah.
Listen, you could tell he was going to be something, but he was good. Now maybe because I don't know how that all turned out with the U.S. He may have been tired from playing. I don't know if he played a whole year right before I don't know. I forget how that was a long time ago. But you couldn't. I mean, it takes time sometimes. To me, quarterbacks take time.
Mm-hmm.
Pass rushers take time. Jerome Brown, there's another one. Jerome Brown, one of the top 5 greatest players I've ever covered. His rookie year, you wondered a little bit: is this guy going to be as good as they told us he was going to be?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second year, you said, "Oh my God, yeah, he's even better than I thought he was going to be."
Right.
So pass rush to me, quarterbacks and pass rushers. Now, wide receivers they can come in and play. Usually, running backs certainly can come in and play.
Defensive backs can have impact early. Yeah,
I think Buddy Ryan said that one time. The closer you are to the ball, the longer it takes.
Interesting. I never heard that.
Further away from the ball, the wide receivers and corners. That's anyway. Smith is coming around.
Darius Slay had a really nice pick in the first quarter. He had blanket coverage, and then he turned the ball a split second, and great hand-eye coordination to reel that one in, and that was a big play.
You don't see defensive backs. I think Tom Brady said it during the broadcast that usually if a guy if he makes plays like that, he's usually playing wide receiver, not defensive back.
Well, since you brought up Tom Brady, I actually think he's getting a little bit better as an analyst. I thought he made some cogent and concise points the other day where a lot of times he kind of rambles off into nowhere, but he stuck to the script pretty good, I thought.
I thought so, yeah. Like I told you earlier when we talked about announcers, I'm so trained to just watch.
Yeah.
That I don't even know what they say sometimes, but I try to listen more now that I'm not actually, at the game anymore. So I try to listen. Yeah, I thought Brady was fine. I mean, and he's not afraid to criticize.
Yeah, well, what do you want for 350 million or whatever Fox is paying him? Hey, and then Green Bay gets off to that bad start, and McManus, who's been a very good kicker
Oh
for
my
them,
God.
misses a short field goal in the
I
second
just love their
quarter,
day.
and they just couldn't get off the dime, and the Eagles were able. I was a little bit nervous during it because I was at the game, so
You
I
said that.
couldn't. Yeah, and I rewatched actually the broadcast this morning, but I was a little nervous because although it wound up that Green Bay outgained them, but a little bit of an anomaly there. But it looked to me like the Eagles got a good head start. We got a jump on the game, but they were letting Green Bay hang around. And if McManus had hit that field goal, that would have been a 3-point game well into the third quarter. So it wasn't like, it was a dominating performance. We did what we had to do to win, but it was a little bit scary.
Yeah, when it was 16-10, and when Jake Elliott missed the extra point,
Yeah.
and it's 16-10. It was 16-3 when he missed it, but okay,
Right.
16-3. Packers score 16-10. Now,
Yeah.
in your mind, it's got to be, oh no, I hope that extra point doesn't
Well, so
cost
many
me,
times
right?
it happens that it makes a difference. Green Bay, Jordan Love, 20 for 33, 212 yards. I thought I didn't think he was that sharp. I thought he might have been feeling the effects of that elbow injury. He came in, and I was really impressed with Josh Jacobs.
Tough runner.
That
That run he had was pretty
that
impressive.
yeah, he was an inch away from a touchdown. That would have been a highlight reel run too. So let's talk about the one bad thing that came out of it. We lose Nakobe Dean for the year. He was playing really well in that game. There's another guy that's improved week to week. I guess it'll be a combination of Burks and Trotter Jr. filling in at that slot. How big of a deal do you think Nakobe Dean not being there means? Because remember, those other two guys play a lot of special teams, so
Right.
there's a fatigue factor there too.
I would think they'll play less on special teams this week.
Well, if Fangio has his way, they'll play less on special teams.
I mean, you don't want them out there too. I mean, we'll see, but I would think you bring somebody else up or move somebody. I mean, somebody else is going to come up if Dean goes on into reserve. You're going to bring somebody else onto the roster. I would think that person might be a special teams kind of player. I don't know. I don't know who their other backup linebackers are or who's on the practice squad that they could bring up. But he also signed that kid last week, that Lewis Cine.
Yeah, I don't know much about him.
He's a safety, but he plays special. But he's a special teams guy. So
okay,
he didn't play at all last week. So I could see him taking.
Was he dressed?
No.
Well, he was. So okay.
Right. So I could see him dressing this week in place of Dean and not playing linebacker, but taking some of Burks's reps on special teams.
And Zack Bond was his usual athletic self. He had a nice interception in the second quarter too that helped the Eagles. But let's talk about what's coming up now. We've got the Rams, and if anybody watched that Rams Minnesota game, they totally dismantled a pretty good football team. Now, I wouldn't want to be Sam Bradford's financial advisor because that game probably cost him about $100 million. Sam Darnold, I'm sorry.
Sam Bradford made a ton of money. I would love to be Sam Bradford's financial advisor because I'd be getting a little percent of that money.
I'm going back in the archives, right? Sam Bradford.
Vikings quarterback, Sam.
But let me tell you why I don't like the Eagles this week. I love the Eagles. I love the Eagles this week. And let me tell you why. Now, number one, Matthew Stafford was 19 for 27, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. The guy's really good. I mean, he's really good. They've got kind of a running back by committee. Williams is their main running back. He 76 yards last weekend. I saw that Tyler Higbee was hurt in that game. Did you know if he came back in the game in the second half?
I don't think he came back.
Okay, if he didn't, that's going to be a big loss.
Well, I think we'll check injury reports as the week goes on. I don't think he went back in that game because they were winning. Why would you?
Okay.
In the game when they're up 27-9,
but they've got Nakua, they've got Cooper Kupp, Demarcus Robinson is a pretty good player. They have the tools, right? So now I say all this, how good the Rams are, and I love the Eagles, right? So here's my theory. Now keep in mind I'm hot because I nailed that game last week, so I'm riding the wave here. Number one, the NFL did them a disservice by playing them on Monday night last week, and I think That's probably something that they need to look at. That is a huge disadvantage to put a team on a short week like the Rams coming into Philadelphia. Number two, it's a cross-country trip. Now, a lot of times when we used to fly to the West Coast, we would leave on Friday so we can get acclimated to the time change and be fresh for Sunday. I don't know if they're going to have the time to do that. It'll be interesting to see during the week. We're recording this on Wednesday morning, what the Rams' travel plans are. They're still dealing with the distractions of that horrific fire that's out there. It's still burning. You know, people's lives have been uprooted. And believe me, when football pales in comparison when you see what some of the people are going through out there. But again, that's going to be a distraction for that team because some of the coaches and players are affected by that fire. And it's a terrible situation. And then it's going to be cold and loud here at the Link. And on a short week with the game on the line, you know, I really see the Eagles putting this team away. I'm thinking a 10-point Eagles win. So there's my philosophy. If I'm wrong, at least I have a reason for being wrong. Now you can tell me what's going to go on.
I think the Eagles win the game. I don't know by 10, but I think they win the game. But I was watching the game with a couple guys. Actually, one is a young guy who's it's hard to find Eagles fans down here in South Carolina. But this one young kid is an Eagle fan, believe it or not. And I don't know. I asked him why, and I forget. I think he was a big Donovan McNabb fan. So I don't. Whatever.
Why don't you start an Eagles bar down there in North Myrtle
Beach? There's an Eagles bar.
There is. Well, there you go. Find Eagles fans.
The owner's from Philly.
Okay.
Roger. Yeah. Right. I could tell you that. I'll tell you that story. He's a nice guy. Anyway, so it's not real crowded, the Eagles bar. Let me tell you. There's not a lot of Eagles fans down here. I think further south there are. Like I'm in North Myrtle Beach. I think if you go further south, because somebody told me, oh yeah, there's a lot of Philly people here. I'm like, where? I don't see any. I see Pittsburgh. I'm surrounded by Pittsburgh.
Well, they're everywhere though. Steelers fans are everywhere. When I go to the Hall of Fame for Harold and Coach Vermeil, they have to stand as Pittsburgh fans.
Yeah. But anyway, most people that were caring about that Viking Ram game were saying to me, "Oh, the Eagles would rather play the Rams, right?" And I said, "I don't think so. I'd rather face Sam Darnold than Matthew Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather face that Viking defense than that Ram defense."
Well, they're going by the overall record, but people forget that the Rams were decimated by injuries early. I think the first game, I think they lost 2 or 3 starting offensive linemen and so they got off to a tough start. But
the Rams were 1-4. They were counted out.
Yeah.
They came back and won the division. The Vikings, hey, listen, a win's a win, right? I think they had like 5. I know they had 2 2-point wins. They had 1 1-point win. And I believe they had like 9 games decided in the final minute.
Yeah.
Where like either they won it in the final minute or the other team missed the field goal or sort of like not again, you win. But eventually that was going to run out, and it ran out last week for the Vikings. So I would have rather played the Vikings. Now, I'm not sure. I think the Eagles' NFC East buddy, Washington, did the Eagles a little bit of a favor by knocking out Tampa Bay because for whatever reason, Tampa Bay, Todd Bowles knows how to defend the Eagles.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the playoff matchups coming up. The first game on Saturday is the Texans, who beat the Chargers. A lot of people picked the Chargers to win that game. They're at Kansas City, arrested Kansas City. Kansas City is actually going on their 3rd week off, if you consider not playing the starters the 1 week and the bye week. What do you think D'Amico Ryans can rally that squad to keep that a close game?
For a while.
Mm-hmm.
I think Houston will, like you said, for the same reason we talked about, Kansas City could be a little rusty.
Right.
They could start slow, and I think it'll be a game for a half, maybe 3/4 even. But then Kansas City's talent, I think, will show up in the 4th. I think, again, I don't think they blow them out, but I think they win, by 10 points, 24-14, 27-17, something like that.
Okay.
That's what I think. I think Kansas City wins the game. I'll be very surprised if Houston can knock them off in Kansas City. The weather's going to be bad in Kansas City too.
Chiefs are 8.5-point favorites. I don't lay big numbers in games, but if I bet the game, I would probably take the points with Houston. What about the second game now? Washington is at Detroit. Wouldn't that be a lovely gift if they could somehow do that? And I'll tell you something.
Right.
This is the one quarterback that I think could pull off something crazy here, because if Detroit has a weakness, it's against running quarterbacks, and this kid is probably about as good as it gets. Do you?
Let me
but
tell you,
he may be in a tough spot because they're pretty green to go to Detroit and win that.
No
game.
chance.
No chance.
No chance. I'm going to tell for everything that you said about the Rams going to Philly, double it.
Okay.
This game. This
No
is Detroit.
chance.
This is Detroit's third straight road game.
So you're laying 9.5.
Sorry, this is Washington's. Yeah, I'm laying whatever you want to
You're
lay.
laying that.
Washington's third straight road game. They had to go to Dallas the last week of the season. They had to go to Tampa last week. Now they're going to Detroit.
Yeah.
And they're doing it on short rest as well. The game's Saturday. They played Sunday night.
Right. By the way, over and under in that game is 55.5. Man,
That's just for Detroit.
Okay. I think we know where Mark's going.
No, I think Washington's defense. Listen, Washington, give them all the credit in the world. I told you they were going to be better. I told everybody they were going to be better this year. They did better than I didn't think this better. They won a playoff game, but no, it's time. Watch out for them next year now. Another good draft.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're a team to be reckoned with next year. But
it's going to be an Eagles-Commanders race for the division next year, because Dallas and the Giants won't be anywhere near there.
Washington, they're heading the right direction. But like I said, third straight road game on a short week. Going to play that Lions team. That Lions team is pretty. Daniels is going to do his thing. He'll score some points, but I don't know how. Washington's defense is okay, and that Lions offense is more than okay.
We talked about the Eagles. They're up to a 6-point favorite now in that game. It's crept up during the course of the week. And then what I think is the marquee game of the entire playoff season so far is Baltimore at Buffalo. Buffalo opened as a 1-point favorite. They immediately put Baltimore, the line adjusted to Baltimore being a 1-point favorite. And
now I think it's back to Buffalo. I think. Depends where you look, I think.
Well, no, I'm on my sports app right now. It's still Baltimore -1.
Okay, well, the one I looked at last
but I
night,
mean, it
depends on where you're betting.
Yeah, it jumps around if you.
I
I think it's going to be a great. Listen, these are other than Barkley, who I believe is a real MVP candidate. I think these two. It's going to be a shootout between two great quarterbacks. I have and even though I love John Harbaugh, I love the Harbaugh family. I like everything they stand for. But I got a soft spot in my heart for Buffalo. They get so close every year, and those people, they love that team so much, and it would be nice to see them get to the Super Bowl this year. Anybody but Kansas City, right? We're even though you got a red shirt on. Is that shirt doesn't say Kansas City on the front?
No, it says Houston. University.
Okay, all right, we're good then.
No, I'm pulling. Yeah, that's going to be a great game. I think Buffalo finds a way somehow.
Oh, I hope so. I think you're right, actually. I think this might.
Did you know this? I think you know it. Well, I put it out there. All 4 AFC coaches have a connection to the Eagles. They either played. D'Amico Ryans played for him.
Right.
Obviously, Andy was head coach of the Eagles for a long time, and both Harbaugh and McDermott were assistant.
Right. Yeah.
All 4 AFC coaches have a tie to the Eagles.
Well, so Jeffrey Lurie's going to take credit for that now, right? That he hires the best people. Well, anyway, it should be interesting. Next week, we will hopefully be talking about an Eagles victory and them heading to the NFC Championship game. It would be wonderful if they're going to play that at home against Washington. According to Mark, that has no chance of happening. But we'll see.
I wouldn't bet on that.
If not, we got to go to Detroit. You know what I say about that, Mark? Is to win the game, you got to beat everybody, and you might as well do it as soon as you can. So that's going to do it for us this week. Thanks for tuning into the Bird Brains with Ken and Mark. For Mark Eckel, this is Ken Dunek. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week, everybody. Take care.